Mark Twain said, I wrote you a 10-page letter. If I had a week, I would have written you a 1-page letter.
Great. Well, welcome, Allie. We're really happy you're here. Thank you so much for taking time to do this for us.
Well, I'm happy to do it, and it's just, I say the word too much, but there I did again. I am going to be sharing with you some of my photographs and some of my knowledge on spring migration. Kern County is the intersection of 3 floristic provinces. It has lots of different ecotypes. The desert and the mountains and the San Joaquin Valley all have different migration patterns, but similar. So spring, can we get rid of the grid view? Let me see. Okay, I'm hiding the thumbnail video. Okay, so spring migrants. I would use eBird, recording on eBird. I noticed something today that there are almost 500 species, over 500 species or taxa listed on eBird, even though we only have 445 species. And I noticed that there's something, the yellow-bellied / red-naped sapsucker means that a person doesn't know whether it's one or the other. And then where you say red-naped X, say yellow-bellied sapsucker hybrid, that's when you know it's a hybrid. Just one of the little housekeeping bits on eBird. So there are 4 types of migrants in spring. We have our wintering residents that are leaving for breeding grounds in the far north. We have the valley and desert residents that breed in our mountains. We have birds that are just migrating through without stopping for more than a day to refuel on their way to breeding grounds. And lastly, we have birds that arrive on the breeding territory in the multitude of habitats in Kern County. And we have at least 209 species of birds that nest in Kern County. These are our spring rarities. We have a lot of spring birds that really are one-shot wonders. So there are well over 130 different species that migrate in just on a whim. They're generally called vagrants. So, and then we have shorebirds and neotropical migrants. Birds just migrating through without stopping for more than a day to refuel on their way to the breeding grounds. Most of the time they're coming from, the neotropics is south of the Tropic of Capricorn. And so they're birds from South America. We have a lot of short migrants that come up from Central America and Mexico and breed up here. Then we have the near Arctic migrants that are the basically our wintering gulls and ducks are near Arctic migrants. So they move northward and they come south during the non-breeding season. And several of the birds that we have here will go all the way up to the Arctic Circle. And then we have altitudinal migrants, such as the dark-eyed junco, which winters in the lower elevations in Kern County and then breeds up in our mountains. So the winter residents that are migrating out, we have lots of ducks that are migrating out. The greater white-fronted goose is still available to see at Kern National Wildlife Refuge for a few more weeks. The cackling goose is a rare bird, but can be seen. 1 or 2 individuals generally come down and winter in the valley. The snow geese have basically left the Indian Wells Valley over by Ridgecrest. They number in the thousands in the winter. And this is one of the rare blue geese, the snow geese. And this is the smaller cousin, the Ross's goose. You can see it has this wrinkly bill with the purple. And then you get these mixed flocks of ducks. This is at the Kern sewer ponds. This is what you'll be seeing, just a whole bunch of ducks, and you can try and identify them. And then the birds start migrating. Now these are local breeders, the wood duck. I just thought it was a neat picture. They're not leaving. This is the American green-winged teal, which can breed locally. This is the blue-winged teal that breeds up in the prairie potholes and up in Canada. And the American widgeon, it can also breed locally, but we have a lot of migrants coming in and out. This is the female Eurasian widgeon, and these birds are getting more common, but they're only found here in the wintertime. And then we have the northern pintail, one of the more beautiful ducks that breeds up in the prairies. This is a greater scaup, and you can tell it's a greater scaup because it's basically the head is fairly round. The color doesn't really mean much. I've seen them with a blue sheen or purple sheen or a green sheen, but it doesn't have the little divot like its cousin, the lesser scaup. The greater scaup basically migrates in from the coast, and it'll be migrating north along with the lesser scaup. The ring neck duck is, you can see this kind of ring of maroon or purple, and that's what it's named for. Many people have tried to get ornithologists to change it to ring-billed duck. And one of the cuter ducks, the little tiny bufflehead, migrates north. And the common goldeneye and its mate are winter residents migrating out. Up on Isabella Reservoir, there are thousands, or used to be thousands, of common mergansers, and interspersed with them, you would find the rare red-breasted merganser. And they're all migrating north. There is a small population of common mergansers that breed on the Kern River in Tulare County. And this is the red-breasted merganser female, which you'll see occasionally. And I took this photograph up by Pine Mountain Club. Most of these photographs I've taken either in Kern or Tulare counties. This photograph of hooded mergansers was taken, this photograph of hooded mergansers was taken at Hart Park. These are wintering birds. They're cavity nesters, and they sometimes will lay an egg in a wood duck nest. And the eared grebe used to number in the thousands. We have seen a sharp drop off on the eared grebe numbers, but the eared grebe winters in Kern County and is flying out now. And the sandhill crane, we only get sandhill cranes by Wildwood Avenue and off of Garces Highway. The Pixley National Wildlife Refuge is pretty spectacular for sandhill cranes, and we just have to cheat a little bit to go and enjoy them. And sandhill cranes are sometimes hard to see through the fog, but it's a beautiful place. The mountain plover is also just a winter resident that has already migrated out. And now we have our gulls. We have a lot of gulls that winter in Kern County, and the California gull winters up on Isabella Reservoir, and tens of thousands of birds. And it's migrating north up into Mono Lake where it breeds. The ring-billed gull is a cosmopolitan gull. There are very few that are actually up on Isabella Reservoir. There's only about 10%. And this is an adult bird. We occasionally get this rare mew gull that flies in from the coast in the wintertime. It's sometimes seen in migration. We also get the Thayer's gull. You can see by the bright pink feet and the very pale primaries that this is a Thayer's gull, and it's kind of got a very daintier bill. And the herring gull, if you go down to the Arvin recharge ponds, you can see quite a few herring gulls off of Edison Road. And the Bonaparte's gull is also a winter bird. There used to be quite a few more, but the numbers have dropped. I do not know why. But as a few birders who came up here a few weeks ago, I showed them how using Cheetos makes gulls very happy. They fly in. And this bird flew in, and it is a lesser blackback gull, which is a very, very rare bird. And then this is a herring gull, I think. I haven't, it's kind of a different gull. And if anybody knows what these birds are that I don't know what this is, you can put it in the chat box and let me know. And this is a rare bird that comes in sometimes in winter and mostly through migration, the sanderling. The ferruginous hawk migrates in from northern and interior Great Basin desert to winter in the San Joaquin Valley and the Kern Valley. And the sharp-shinned hawk migrates down from the mountains, the northern Sierra. And the Cooper's hawk is actually this looks like a sharp-shinned hawk. Anybody wants to put in the comments what you think this one is? And we have the red-naped sapsucker and the yellow-bellied sapsucker, which will come in here and winter in the San Joaquin Valley, and they are flying out. This yellow-bellied sapsucker, you can tell yellow-bellied sapsuckers because the red-naped sapsucker leaves its breeding grounds in full adult plumage, and the yellow-bellied retains its juvenile plumage through most of the season. This yellow-bellied sapsucker was actually seen in May on the Kern River Preserve. And then we have the merlins will come in winter, and they will leave. I remember one year we had a bioregions festival where Ken Kaufman saw all 4 species of falcons on the Migrant Corner Trail. The American pipit is solely a winter resident. It's migrating out. And the mountain bluebird nests in the interior Great Basin desert and all up in the mountains. And it's pretty much only found here in winter as well. And the hermit thrush, I think they may breed it up in their mountains, and I'm not completely sure, but the hermit thrush is the winter residing Cathartus thrush, and pretty soon we'll be getting the Swainson's thrush in. And the chipping sparrow is found in the San Joaquin Valley, and it migrates up and it actually nests up in the mountains. And there are 4 or 5 species of subspecies of fox sparrows. This is not our local breeding one, but this one came down in winter. And the Lincoln sparrow also comes in winter and migrates out. The white-crowned sparrow comes down about September 15th each year and migrates out no later than May 25th. It can be a late migrant. This is a juvenile, and this is the adult, and this is the gambelei from Alaska and parts of Yukon. And this is the white-throated sparrow. It's basically found here in winter and sometimes in migration. It's an East Coast Zonotrichia. And this is the golden crown sparrow that is only found here in winter as well. And it migrates out by early May. This is the brain fog vesper sparrow that is found here in winter. It's got this lovely eye ring and a rufous shoulder patch. And this is pine siskin, which is an eruptive species. Some years we have them, some years we don't, mostly always in winter. And the American goldfinch, after the cedar fire, we found American goldfinch actually breeding up in the Kern County mountains, which was very bizarre because they do not breed down here. But you can see from winter, they're very dull to spring. They start getting really, really bright, and they're the bird on all of the postcards. And you can see the lesser goldfinch compared to the American goldfinch. The American goldfinch is larger than the lesser goldfinch. The lesser goldfinch is here in Kern County year-round. And this is a purple finch that is, or maybe it's a Cassin's. This is a purple finch. And the purple finch migrates upslope, breeds in the mountains. So the neotropical migrants, we have starting now, we're starting to see some of our warblers coming in. This is a black-throated gray warbler. This is the yellow warbler that breeds on the Kern River Preserve along the South Fork. This is a Wilson's warbler that nests as far south as northern Tulare County mountains and continues migrating north. The yellow-rumped warbler, the numbers are really, really down. I'm very concerned because the insect population has crashed, and worried that the yellow-rumped warbler is not as common as it used to be. And this is the butterbutt. And this is the myrtle race of the yellow-rumped warbler. You can see they really should separate these birds. They have a different call, chip note, and appearance. This is a hermit warbler that's coming in right now. It's nesting up, it nests up in the Kern County mountains. And this is a immature. This is the male Townsend's warbler that can be found sometimes here in winter, but is very abundant during spring migration. And this is a female Townsend's warbler. This is the McGillivray's warbler. It nests in desert chaparral. And I believe this is a female Townsend's, female McGillivray's warbler. This is a northern parula. It is a vagrant migrant. It doesn't come through every year. It breeds on the East Coast, and sometimes it gets lost. This not the greatest picture was photographed by Lake Ming in winter. This bird stayed over. And the orange crown warbler, you can see a little bit of the orange crown right here, is a local breeding bird. The Nashville warbler is just migrating in. It breeds up in our mountains and further north. And this is a spring version of the Cape May warbler. The Cape May warbler is only been seen in Kern County a few times. This photograph was taken in Inyo County in spring, and then you can see the difference between the bird in fall. A friend of mine came back from a hike and was home for one day, found a Cape May warbler, and then she took off again. So, but spring versus fall. Fall warblers are tough. The black and white warbler acts like a nuthatch. It goes up and down the tree and frequently with its head down. The ovenbird is found in California City at Galileo Hill, if we can ever get back there, frequently in spring. And so is the northern water thrush. A lot of these East Coast warblers migrate in late May and early June, and then they'll make the return trip in September. This is a fall warbler, the blackpoll warbler, that looks nothing like its spring representation, but I've never seen one in spring. And this is our cute little common yellowthroat that lives in our marshes. It's winters down in the San Joaquin Valley and parts north, and it breeds up on the Kern River Preserve and other areas. And this is the female. get a few vagrants in. This is a surf scoter who is comes in spring migration. This long-tailed duck was seen in April a few years back. This was a Barrow's goldeneye. These Barrow's goldeneyes have been seen with more frequency, but many are thinking that when it doesn't have this little black spur, they're actually a hybrid with the common goldeneye. And the Allen's hummingbird, it is very hard to see unless you're Mickey Dyke and happen to have one spend the winter in her yard. But these are very, very rare, and you can't tell the Allen's hummingbird from the Rufous hummingbird under most circumstances, unless you have it in hand or you get a good photograph of the tail feathers. And the long-tailed Jaeger, we've had all three species of Jaegers in Kern County, but they are rare, very rare spring migrants. Basically, they fly through and you just have to be lucky enough to have your camera up. The clay-colored sparrow is a rare migrant. It nests up in the prairie potholes and grasslands, and it comes down in winter and spring. And occasionally we can get a lark bunting from the same northern latitudes where it misses the Rocky Mountain migration and comes into California. And then if we're really, really lucky, we can find a snow bunting. I've never seen a snow bunting in Kern County. It's been recorded. This one I photographed on the Arctic Ocean. So migrating birds. We have some migrating birds that are rare or common. This black brant is not common. The blue-winged teal is found almost every year. It likes puddles. It particularly likes the sewer ponds off of Oswell. Common loon is seen almost every year on our lakes and reservoirs. And this is the common loon in its breeding plumage, as you can see it at some point. This is the Pacific loon. If you notice, it has a much smaller bill and the head is quite a bit rounder, and it doesn't have that little indented white area as the common loon does, as you can see there. And if you're fortunate enough to be able to leave quickly when somebody calls you and says there's a red-throated loon, it's been recorded in Kern County, but only a few times. The horned grebe is a fairly frequent ocean visitor to Kern County. You will find it in winter and in spring migration on Kern County reservoirs, lakes, and at the Kern National Wildlife Refuge. And the peregrine falcon loves to terrorize shorebirds. So you can see the short-billed dowitcher and black-necked stilt. And black-necked stilts nest locally, willets do not. The semi-palmated plover is a spring migrant. The snowy plover is a spring migrant and also can breed locally if there is sufficient shallow water. The black-bellied plover comes in winter. You can find it around the Kern National Wildlife Refuge, and then it'll migrate out in fairly large numbers in spring. This is one of the sewer ponds in Tulare County. You can see there's quite a few black-bellied plovers getting ready to go. Long-billed curlews are an enigma. They are here, and they may be breeding somewhere in the valley. They've been found here in August, and that just may be an early migration. but they're definitely here in winter and they're migrating out. Reed Tollefson saw 2 on the Kern River Preserve or on Hanning Flat, which was just acquired to put into conservation a few days back. And they can number in the hundreds in migration. The whimbrel is also a spring migrant coming through our shallow waterways. Owens Lake is a great place to see these, and there's some places off Mountain View and Edison Highway that hold some whimbrels. And the willet is fairly rare, but can be found in the shallower waters or in the sewer ponds. And the marbled godwit is also one of the shorebirds that will be nesting in here. This is a spotted sandpiper. Spotted sandpiper, this is what it looks like in winter. And we can see it in Kern County in winter, and then it turns into a spotted sandpiper for spring. The greater yellowlegs and lesser yellowlegs are both found here in Kern County in small numbers that increase through the spring, and then they migrate north. The long-billed dowitcher is also a spring migrant. We'll see thousands of these birds at Kern National Wildlife Refuge and other shallow pond areas. And this is the dowitcher next to the least sandpiper. The least sandpiper can be told by its yellow legs and its small size. This is the bared sandpiper, which will be migrating through, and it's easier to see in fall. And you can tell it's a bared sandpiper because it has very long primaries. The Dunlin, these guys are in breeding plumage. You can see their black bellies, and these guys with this long bill will be here in winter and migrate out. Again, our least sandpiper, small yellow legs. Its larger cousin is the pectoral sandpiper. You can tell he looks, Susan Steele likes to say, he looks like a least sandpiper on steroids. And you can see these white bars on its back. And then this is the western sandpiper in its winter plumage. And it starts to brighten up, and it's a really beautiful bird as it gets to its really rufous breeding plumage. And these birds migrate in flocks, and they kind of get to be kind of big flocks. And it's very impressive, especially when a peregrine falcon thinks it's going to get a snack. This Wilson's phalarope is a shorebird that migrates through. This is its fall winter plumage, and then the female molts into this beautiful rufous plumage as she flies north. They breed up on Owens Lake, and this is the red-necked phalarope that also can be found. Owens Lake is a really, really great place to visit in spring. And this is the Bonaparte gull in its breeding plumage flying north. Or is it? No, this might be the Franklin's gull. I'm sorry. This is the Franklin's gull. And this is the I think this is a herring gull, or this bill is very small. This may be a light-eyed Thayer's gull. And this is a red-naped sapsucker, or excuse me, yellow-bellied sapsucker. You can see it's still got some brown on it, and it's migrating out, but it's getting more of its breeding plumage. The olive-sided flycatcher. The Plumbeus vireo is a bird that nests in the deserts, and it's migrating through now. And then the cedar waxwing, large flocks. feed on whatever berries they can, and they're coming through now. And this Hammond's flycatcher will breed up in our local mountains. You can tell it's got a small bill, fairly long primary extensions. And the sage thrasher is migrating through, and sometimes you find this in winter. And the hermit thrush, you can tell it's a hermit thrush because it's got the rufous tail. And then its cousin, the Swainson's thrush, will start migrating in about 2 to 3 more weeks. We should see the first Swainson's thrush. And then the varied thrush is an eruptive bird. It's more seen in winter, but they will hold through spring when they migrate north. And the one of the types of fox sparrow, and the Cassin's finch. And orchard oriole is a very rare migrant. So migration can involve thousands of birds, and there is a quiz. I want everybody to tell me what birds they're seeing in this picture. So there is local research. There's breeding bird surveys conducted by individual birders. The Southern Sierra Research Station, if you look up southernsierraresearch.org, they have multiple projects they work on. They're monitoring avian productivity and survivorship. What they do is they misnet birds and ban them. They have this Modus wildlife tracking system where they put on these teensy-tiny little GPS trackers. They're monitoring they're studying flammulated owls, southwestern willow flycatcher, tricolor blackbirds, and the yellow-billed cuckoo. And you don't need to write all this stuff down because I will I'll give Harry this PowerPoint. So these are some really great places to find information about birds. The feather atlas, when you have a feather you don't know what is, it's pretty amazing. And the condor spotter, if you look at the condors flying over and get their tag numbers, the condor spotter can tell you which bird that was. There are also some great migration forecasts. So this is tonight. This is the forecast for the migration tonight. You can see the Mississippi Flyway is pretty insanely busy almost all the time. It looks like Georgia is going to have a major migration tonight. And we have some migration going on in the coast. These are probably a lot of our winter birds, the ducks and cranes flying out. And then this is a map where you can actually see in real time these blue circles are actually birds flying over a radar. So where to bird in Kern County? I'm going to go through this fairly quickly. There are a lot of places to bird. If you want to find out some place to bird, Kern County is so diverse and has so many places to bird, and it's got 8,172 square miles. So there's places in the northern San Joaquin Valley, the central San Joaquin Valley, the western San Joaquin Valley. Bakersfield has so many parks, and these parks have good wintering birds and good summer birds. And the city of Bakersfield, Mount Vernon sewer ponds are just top notch. You just have to go there during the week. And we have the transverse ranges and the Tehachapi's and the Sierra Nevada mountains. Many areas charge fees. So if you purchase the federal interagency pass, or like most of us, we're over 62. If you buy the pass, the senior pass, you can get in. You must display those on a lot of these areas. this will be available online, and I'll repost this up on my website. My website's been under construction for a while. You can see Galileo Hill. If anyone listening is a millionaire, we need somebody to buy Galileo Hill. The birds need it, and we need it. It went through bankruptcy, and we don't know what's going to happen to it, but it would be a shame if we lost that. South Mojave Desert. Edwards Air Force Base offers a permit to go into the Paiute palms, but you have to agree to bird there at least once a month. And I don't have the gas budget to do such a thing. So, but there are a lot of other types of migrants. So there are migrating bats, butterflies, dragonflies, and there are different places. There's not only is there eBird, there's eButterfly. There's also the Dragonfly Network out of the University of Texas, and there's Bats International. So I'm going to pause for a second and see if anybody has any questions. I have a lot more slides, and if you've gotten bored by now, I'm going to give you a chance to respond. So if you have a question or you're still interested, raise your hand. Hey, Mary Jane, it is nice to see you.
Perhaps alternatively, they might post questions in the chat box.
Yeah.
Allie, I have a question. It's Elaine.
Yeah.
When I see a house finch, when I see a finch, I just call them all house finches. Is there a way to delineate between them? Maybe I'm seeing caissons. I don't know, cassons.
Well, house finch is good. It's kind of like seeing a buteo. If you see a hawk and you call it a red tail, people are going to think you're smart, because most of the time it is. But house finches is, in winter and in spring, it can be shooting dice. So you're dealing with birds that have a lot of streaking and are fairly brown, and the males are pretty and red, but the females are very streaky and very brown. The Casson finch has a fairly good sized beak and has a really good eye stripe. And if you look at the undertail coverts, they will have streaks in them. The purple finch, the undertail coverts are plain. They don't have any streaks, and they're much more purple all around without a whole lot of streaking. Yeah.
Allie, if you'd go to the chat, Scott, one of our has a question about the pandemic on the effects on birding.
Now, well, a couple of papers I've read have talked about how habitat has been not molested as much. So the birds are reacting a lot better. In the early part of the pandemic, the interesting thing was found that urban birds started singing more quietly because they no longer had to compete with the cacophony of human noise, because there was so much less traffic and airplanes and other things for them to compete with. Does that answer your question? Okay, so I have a lot more slides. If you want the show of hands, if people are good now, or we can go back to doing the slideshow.
Let's go back to the slideshow. I think and maybe more questions will be developed after we see more.
Oh, Roger.
Roger has one.
No, okay. He was raising his hand. Okay, hi, Roger. Lovely to see all of you.
Good to see you. And I just was raising my hand. I'm good for the slideshow.
Okay, back to the slides. Okay, come on.
What are you playing with, dude?
Okay, my computer is acting very slow. Come on, computer. There we go. It's a very huge program because it's the only thing I know how to do. Come on, computer.
Is that your cat in the background?
Yes, he is.
He keeps putting his 2 cents in. I think it's darling.
He is the most chatty cat I've ever seen. He and he knows he's being talked about.
Uh-huh. Is he a
Oh,
birder too? He probably likes birds too.
yes, and he's tearing up my screens wanting to go out and enjoy birds. Okay, come on, computer. Okay, well, my computer is unfortunately, I can't share the screen when it's deciding to save, and it's just decided that it's not going to cooperate right now. It's just very big.
Feel free to unshare if it will help you save, and then you can share again.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find because it took me. Okay, I am screen sharing. New share. No, not new share. Come on, program. Yeah, see, the problem is from, there we go.
What, baby?
So here is summer birds. This bird is why the Kern River Preserve was initially saved by Bob Williams and David Gaines back in 1977. The western segment, somebody's got their is unmuted. If I don't know who can please mute yourself. Anyway, this western yellow-billed cuckoo is found only on the Kern River Preserve. It's a riparian obligate, and there are actually several pair. And with the low water, the South Fork Wildlife Area should have quite a few this coming summer. They don't arrive until the middle of June, and they leave fairly early because it only takes them 9 days from egg laying to fledging. So they are like one of the fastest hatching birds. Our Anna's hummingbird is a year-round bird, but more come in the summer, and they breed abundantly up here. The Costas hummingbird is found up in the Kern River Valley in winter, and a greater number migrate in. And it's also found in the Indian Wells Valley year-round. They're the tiny hummingbird. The Rufous hummingbird migrates through starting in February and can migrate through by about mid-April is when it stops migrating, and then it starts its return trip in July. And it's just a lovely, lovely bird. The Calliope hummingbird, the smallest bird in North America, breeds locally in our mountains and in the Tulare County mountains. It's also it and the California condor are the largest and smallest birds in North America, and they both have potential to breed in Kern County. When the black-chinned hummingbird migrates in, it should be here this week, and it summers in the county and will migrate back out in early September, back to part south. The Lewis's woodpecker is an eruptive species. It has migrated, it has nested in the Kern River Valley, or excuse me, it has nested in Kern County. And it's up in the Tehachapi's and off of Woody Road. And the ash-throated flycatcher, it will be migrating in soon. It's one of the 2 Contopus species we have here. And the Pacific slope flycatcher will be migrating in. I believe this is another Pacific slope. The dusky flycatcher. And I'm not good at flycatchers. This is a western wood pewee. And flycatchers will be migrating through. And the wood pewees and the willow flycatcher. The numbers are very, very, very critically low. Western kingbirds get here about the 3rd week in March, and they'll be here until September. And the ash-throated flycatcher should be arriving soon. I haven't heard any yet. And the Cassin's vireo nests in our mountains. It nests down in the Los Padres National Forest and in Sequoia National Forest. And the warbling vireo also is migrating through, and it nests in our mountains. The Clark's nutcracker is a corvid that it's kind of eruptive. You can see it up on the top of Mount Pinus. If you're a county birder, you have to be careful because Mount Pinus, the summit is split between Kern and Ventura counties, but they have been seen all over. You can also find them up in Bartola's country on the Kern Plateau if you're willing to drive 16 miles south of Sherman Pass to get out of Tulare County. The swallows, we have barn swallows, cliff swallows that show up in about February and start nesting. The cliff swallows are already nesting. The Lawrence's goldfinch is a migrant that migrates to the coast in winter. We have some that will stay in Kern County in the San Joaquin Valley in winter, and then they move up, and they are really, really appreciate fire. The emergent vegetation, their numbers are really going up because California keeps burning. I've seen so many reports of Lawrence's goldfinches all the way up into Butte and Napa counties. And the brewer's sparrow is can be found in late winter in Bakersfield and Arvin area, and then it'll migrate up and it nests up in the pinyon forests and Joshua tree forests in our mountains. And then the grasshopper sparrow should be coming back soon. It migrates in and it nests off of Cerro Noroeste Road, otherwise called Hudson Ranch Road, which I refuse to call it that. It needs to be called Cerro Noroeste Road by Bitter Creek National Wildlife Refuge. And we have the thick-billed fox sparrow that nests up in our mountains, and it'll be replacing all other fox sparrows that will be moving out to their northern breeding grounds. And the chipping sparrow is found here, and we have it good in migration, and it can find a few in wintertime, but they nest up in our mountains and up in Tulare County mountains. And this is, I remember Roger getting you to the green-tailed towhee off of Mount Pinus Road and near Mil Potrero campground. And the song sparrow is a riparian obligate. The numbers really drop when the river is low, and they go up when they're there. This is a year-round resident. This bird is a mountain white-crowned sparrow. You notice that it has a black lure here. There is no white touching the bill. This is a different subspecies. This nests up in the Sierra Nevada. I don't believe we have any nesting in Kern County, but we could have on the Kern Plateau. But this is the mountain white-crowned sparrow. And the black-headed grosbeak should be arriving any moment now, and it nests in Kern County. And the lazuli bunting. Yes?
Had one up at Hart Flat 2 days ago, a male.
Oh, good. Thanks, Bill. And this is the lazuli bunting. Will be nesting, arriving soon, and it nests here. The Bullock's oriole arrived about 2 weeks ago, and it builds the pendulous nests and the female. And you can tell the Bullocks from the other types of orioles because their bellies are white. Hooded oriole has a yellowy orange, and the western tanagers should be arriving in about 2 weeks. And their heads get much more yellow or much more red as they eat more food and the color gets thicker. And the yellow-headed blackbird, there are a few birds that overwinter, but they are thick in the California City Park and some of the wetlands in the desert, breeding in summer. And the blue grosbeak should be arriving in about 2 weeks, and it will nest on the Kern River Preserve and look for sunflowers on the side of the road. And with that, I will end this program, and I thank you very much for coming along on the migration ride today.
Ali, what a wonderful program, as always, informative, and it's wonderful to see you and to hear you again.
Well, thank you. I get my second shot on Thursday.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. Yes.
I had mine 3 weeks ago. I am now as good as I can get.
Ali, we have many students from Bakersfield College, and just a basic question was asked in the chat room. Why do birds, and you could answer this for the very novices, why do birds migrate? Why don't they just stay in one area? What's the reason that they're doing all these changes during the year?
Well, it's food resources. I mean, if if I rely only on flowers and nectar, I can't find flowers and nectar all year round, so I have to move. So we have penstemon in our that bloom in summer and all the way through the beginning of fall. So those birds would migrate. Yeah, birds have to they have to find particular things, like insects. You don't find insects in winter. So an insectivore has to leave to find insects down in the South Central America, because that's its major food source. And almost all birds do eat some type of protein. So insects are an important reason for migration.
Thank you, Allie. Very informative.